And welcome back to another episode of the Catching Up podcast. This time we are going through the next rounds of cloth. We've got mixed and women's cloth divisions coming up for you. We will be recording the foam series soon, and we'll be out with more episodes of dodgeball from the World Championships at Graz. But stay with us and we will get them out for you. Don't know how long they'll be, don't know when they'll be, don't know how many they'll be, but we'll be talking something about foam at some point very shortly. But for right now, let's get back onto mixed. Let's hope I got the right graphics. Did I do it right?
You do good.
I did good. Yeah, so 5 groups in this one. Similar to the men's.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. What do I remember about mixed? What does anyone remember about mixed?
Argentina, Sweden draw. Which
Wow.
I never would have predicted in a million years. Argentina actually did quite well, to be fair. Like,
yeah,
I generally wouldn't have expected one win, one draw coming out of that group, because that's actually like a strong group. That's not even like, you know, a few newbies. Like, that's an experienced European sides that they've come up against. So to come away with a win and a draw is very impressive in my books.
They looked very organised when they were playing. I think their mixed team was the better of their cloth teams, because they definitely look a lot more structured and a little bit more tactical and clinical of what shots they were taking. But yeah, no, it was definitely good to see.
Yeah. I didn't watch most of these, but like things that come out to me is basically like Spain beating Australia. I wouldn't have thought that at the start of the tournament, but
yeah,
also,
Spain
but at Euros they did very damn well.
They did.
I still didn't expect it though.
Yeah, I think the takeaway is that I apparently expected a lot more from Australia than they necessarily performed. So
I think just a lot of people up their game, because I think Australia played really damn well. Like you know, in their men's we talked about, you know, in mixed they played really, really good dodgeball. I think Spain Spain put everything into their mixed team. Like, that is their best players for men's and women's, and they know how to play mixed really well. Like, it's the it's the first version of dodgeball they played internationally back at Newcastle, right? Because they just entered a mixed team then. Like, it's the one they got the most experience in. They've definitely watched a lot of videos and learned from others. They probably play a lot of mixed in Spain, I'm guessing, if they're that good, you know, as a team. So I definitely wouldn't, underestimate Spain any time anymore. Like,
yeah, I think the time underestimating them's done now.
Yeah.
The other result that was intriguing was Canada Wales draw as well. I haven't watched the game. This is just me scrolling through the results, to be honest. But that's definitely one I want to watch back.
Yeah. This is one I was watching earlier, and it was very like tradey in sets. Like, they were very close all the way through, and then I think. Oh wait, was it? No, I think actually. Oh, I can't remember now. Getting confused between matches as always. Either way, it ended with that crazy comeback set from Wales, where it was that diving catch. It's the one that you like sent the like voice note on Colm, and he's like, "Oh, he's made a hit. Oh, he's dropped it," and like everyone's like, "Who dropped it? Which team? On what side? How long's left?" And it's like, Colm, you'd never make a good commentator.
Whoa. Take that back, sir. Take that back.
you wouldn't make a good radio commentator.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. It's also a help if I knew
Anyone's name.
Most of the names, yeah.
Yeah. That's right, they give you a book for that.
That'd be so helpful. Make it public.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, this was the one where, you know, poor Chile had that situation where Ireland went and did a 50-0 on them.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was painful.
Because that is what those teams needed to try and qualify, and that's really tough.
Yeah.
Really, really tough.
Oh yeah, that was very, very tough. Yeah, that draw between Ireland and Croatia created an unnecessary devil of a game. Let's call it.
Serbia turning up again, massive improvement in play from Euros. You know, some tough teams in that, very, very tough teams in that group, with Australia, Austria, Canada, and Wales. Germany making their debut and getting a win against Serbia as well, but big leap in improvement from Serbia. And it's great to see that Germany have come along and actually played some pretty solid dodgeball. When I got to see them, I didn't get to see much or speak to them, but they looked like they were holding their own and, you know, weren't jumping off court or throwing balls just because they were throwing balls. They very much had strategy, which is really great for a new team.
Yeah, and then I think one of the other results that was interesting was the fact that Sweden beat Scotland, but then also drew to Argentina. Like, that's such a interesting set of results there. But yeah, I mean, mostly from watching the men's, but Sweden's form was a bit patchy this Worlds.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Probably agree with that, to be fair.
Their mixed foam was fantastic.
Alright, I beat him.
Oh wow, we'll get into that on another pod. Yeah, I didn't really have much else to say about mixed because it's, I guess for those that are listening to this podcast for the first time, you know, coming across mixed cloth for the first time, internationally, it is one of the divisions which gets the least amount of attention, where a lot of teams put in developer teams or trying to, you know, their sort of second tier players from that wouldn't make the first team for men's or women's. They put together in mixed, and they play together in mixed to try and get more international experience, which is great. But also there are the other side of the spectrum where you have teams that are like, they just focus on mixed, and you also have teams that have good breadth where they have really great mixed teams and mixed players. You know, like, you know, Austria, for example, are fantastic at that kind of stuff. But whereas, like, you know, France and Italy, very much it was more of a development team in there. But it was great to see, and of course, with mixed Italy, we do have to send our love and appreciation to the man, the myth, the legend, Matteo Mini, who played his last game of international dodgeball this World. It's okay. We all did. We all did shed a tear. What an incredible guy! What an incredible career, and everything he's done for dodgeball. So just wanted to shout out and share some love to him, and for doing some really great stuff with Italy over the years, and all the great matches that he's played. So big shout and big love to Matteo. I'm going to take us on to the playoffs.
Woo!
Woo! Which is great fun because Spain, finishing top of their group, still managed to end up on the side of a bracket where they would meet in the quarterfinals. Another team that finished top of their group, which is rough.
Yeah.
Like, imagine after all of that, and like I feel so bad for Spain, so bad for them. That's so rough. But I mean, they had a good run. They beat Belgium pretty comfortably. But then came across USA, who were running pretty hot.
Then Ireland got a bit of karma after battering Chile.
A little bit.
I felt bad for them that after they're going through all of that, and then, you know, they're like, "Oh, we've made it through. Like, let's see who we've got." You go up against one of the best mixed teams in the world. Yeah, I wasn't. I would have been questioning whether it was worth it, to be honest.
Yeah.
No, obviously you wanted to qualify, but that is a stinky draw.
They out-qualified Croatia. I mean, you either get Austria or England in that situation.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
you're not exactly ecstatic either way, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of the devil you know versus the devil you don't know in that situation, right?
Yeah.
given the number of Irish players that have played in English leagues and against England a lot. Yeah, I don't think that there was much of a surprise in the round of 16 by any of them. I mean, Sweden, Australia, I guess I'm a little bit surprised with Sweden winning that one, given their patchy form, but also we know Sweden really can perform very, very well at these events from time to time, so it's not that much of a surprise, but also I guess it's just that it's rough that was their matchup they had. I think both teams would have thought that they could get through, I think, and would have said, yeah, okay, that's a draw that we'll accept considering where they finished. But it led to some interesting quarterfinals, which are a little bit more closer or a little bit more interesting. I say a little bit more because the Czechia Northern Ireland one was actually kind of interesting to watch. Just because in the early stages of the match, Czechia were their wing players playing really well. Their catching was great. I think Czechia were Czechia in a group with England in the original group stages. I can't remember. Yeah, they were. That was a close game in the group stages, if I remember. Just checking. Yeah, it was 19-13 in the end, and that was quite a close game all the way through. And Czechia just sort of, I guess, faltered in the like England kind of did the England thing of, keeping it together for 3 sets to win it type thing rather than run away with the match. But yeah, so I think we could have saw Czechia beating Wales because it's a solid team for them. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. It's, nothing else was that surprising. The results, I kind of it's kind of as I would expect. Like maybe Canada being slightly closer to Austria, but
that was always going to be a really rough game for them.
Yeah.
Like
Canada had such an interesting cloth worlds because they were like like consistently at that like upper level of the second group of teams in that we like in Euros we like always think big three: England, Northern Ireland, Austria. Kind of like in women's you kind of you sometimes put Italy in there as well, but generally it's those three, and then fourth place is up for grabs, and there's like a bunch of teams fighting it out. And Canada, I felt, were in that like pack of teams in all the cloth groups, and it just felt really like we'll get onto women's in a minute, but like they had some awful draws, but they played fantastically. So don't give up on cloth, Canada. You're doing a solid one. But yeah, geez, they had some tough games. Semis. I mean, Austria, USA, I didn't see, but boy, that is a result.
Yeah. That's a score.
That for considering what the men's final was, to see the semi-final be like that, whoo, Jesus.
Yeah, definitely. To be honest, I wasn't expecting it to be such a washover. As we said, like we've seen USA play quite well over the tournament.
Because they got bronze at last Worlds in mixed cloth.
Your memory's much better than mine.
Yeah. USA doing what they do really well, like in the Olympics, which is collecting medals but not getting the shinier ones.
Wow.
Making the dodgeball memes reference.
Jeez.
I joke. Man. USA had a fantastic Worlds. I think it's fair to say they probably, other than Austria, one of the best teams. Given just like in all disciplines, performing that well is bloody impressive.
Yeah, anyway. You try and claw that back, mate.
Yeah, I will. Sorry, USA. Watch our ratings get absolutely like.
Anybody watching on the YouTube, watching me simulate Nick backpedaling.
Yeah.
He does that a lot, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be relatively good at backpedaling in dodgeball, so
Hey.
There we go. Bringing it back on topic. England, Northern Ireland, not a game I watched, but I was a bit surprised with the outcome. Kind of. But then, because
Well,
think
I do remember. I can't remember what interview it was, but I remember somebody mentioning that a few of the NI players had been quite ill and stuff. So I imagine if you're ill in that heat and you're on day 5 or 6 at this point, that'd be a struggle to get through all of that. So maybe that was the difference maker this time around.
Yeah, and I think there was only like so was it an hour and 20 we got for each slot, or was it 40 minutes each? So the men had just played Austria before this.
Oh God!
So they basically went straight from playing Austria in the men's to playing England in the mixed. And yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Yeah, you wouldn't be wanting that, would you?
No. Whereas, like, where were England?
England were busy.
Though England had played the same, they'd also just played USA,
yeah,
so
they were busy.
They had the same.
But I guess the England mixed squad with the men's has enough difference compared to the Northern Irish men's to the mixed.
Yes. Right? Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Yeah, because like you've got some players that don't really play the men's compared to what they do in the mix, so I think that probably helped.
Yeah.
True.
But yeah, England sneaking on through past Northern Ireland to get into the final. Another dramatic final.
I don't Honestly, think you could not avoid them.
Like, yeah, I don't think I've ever sat through 6 matches, like 6 dodgeball matches, and been so mentally and emotionally exhausted after watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, and we're gonna go party tonight. Great. Like, like wow, I'm so exhausted.
Just sleeping in the corner, I imagine.
Yeah, just like, no. But yeah. What a game, because that came down to the final set, whether England could win it to tie it up, right? Because it was 14-12.
They had to try and rush win it to get the final.
And they were 5-2, 5-3 up with like 18 seconds to go or something. If I remember,
there was a lot of stuff that happened very quickly. That was all very unfortunate.
Yeah, because Finn got hit. Or did Finn get hit or Finn give away a catch? I can't remember.
Something happened to Finn.
Yeah, something happened to Finn.
It was so sad because he'd done so well, and like he was basically like one of the reasons that he got into that position in the first place. And I think I turned to somebody and I was like, I really hope he doesn't fixate on that, because that's not the defining moment of this game. Because if he hadn't done the rest of it, they wouldn't have even been here.
Yeah, he got tombstone caught. Got it up there now.
Yeah, and then there was just a cascade of shit happening against England, wasn't it? It was like getting caught, giving away hits, or getting hit like unnecessarily.
Yeah.
And once again, in true England fashion, just leaving Brett last on court in an unwinnable situation. Like,
he wasn't very pleased about that.
Oh, like, yeah.
To be fair, Thomas also got caught. Like, it wasn't just Finn.
Oh yeah, no, but it was like was that meant that they had to push it to get the step back, right? Because because they were a player or two up, and then that meant that they were even, and rough ending, but
but absolute credit to Austria, because they held them off. Like, they started off really strong, and then England started coming back, and the strength of, like, the mental strength for them to just keep them at bay just through that entire game was just very impressive. Because I don't think England ever got up, did they?
No,
I think Austria were always ahead.
Yeah, by 1 or 2 sets, pretty much most of the game.
What we need
they're
is
very good at.
Go on.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, what we need is WDBF to publish results like the Switzerland leagues do, where they show who won what set.
Yeah, that would be sick. One thing I think Austria, and it's one thing that NI have done really well previously, is knowing how to kill momentum in a game. Play the most boring dodgeball at times, and just do not give them any space to generate momentum.
The tactical tombstone came in clutch this world.
Yeah.
Mop.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is one of the games where that kind of stuff played a part at times.
It really did.
I felt, yeah, and it's definitely, to be fair, I think in all finals there were sets where play was trying to develop and you stop it because of, as you said, tombstone catch or a big slide on your back, or even people's knee pads was leaving sweat marks as well. It got that bad, like, and they're obviously too scared of them backtracking on the sweat, so they stopped it for the mop, and it's you could say that about any of the finals in reality, but Austria did what they had to do like throughout that game, and it was probably the most professional of games I've seen them play in a long time.
Yeah.
And they deserved it at the end of the day. You know, you could argue that England could have made some of the substitutions a bit earlier. Definitely could have played a part in it.
I think we were talking in the chat and we were making substitution suggestions and then seeing it happen 2 sets later.
Emily especially.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like there's a genuine argument that, you know, if Emily was manager, that England could have won. You know.
I don't think so, because I think some of the things that happened to do with some players, I don't think I would have dealt as well as Jen did. Yeah. So hats off to Jen being an absolute trooper.
You've definitely got a lot of personalities to deal with in that squad.
Yeah, and you forget that I don't like people, which is my main issue with being in charge of people.
This is the biggest irony of this podcast, actually. Like, between the 4 of us, we are some of the most socially awkward people.
What do you mean, some of? Like, we're definitely top of that list, lad. There's no doubt about that.
What were we talking about before, Colm? We're just like, oh hi, can I have your shirt, please?
Exactly. There's example number 1. No, I say that comment tongue in cheek. You know, like there, you know, you never know whether the earlier substitutions would have made a massive impact.
Yeah.
You know, you still are coming up against a very strict, disciplined Austria team that can turn it on whenever they want, really.
Yeah,
but they had a major impact. For sure. And as you said, Finn had a major impact whenever he came on, and he deserves a lot of credit for it. Like whenever he's, you know, fit and healthy, he's an incredible player, absolutely incredible player, very enjoyable to watch.
Another match that you know, happened. It was one of the matches. In the corner, the USA Northern Ireland. I did not realize that was the score. Wow. Definitely gonna have to go watch that one back. So my comments,
I haven't watched it.
My professional opinion and comments on that one is go watch it. Yeah.
We'll take our own advice at some point and watch it ourselves.
Yeah.
I have so many games on that list of things to watch back. Oh my god.
I think like I tried to open a tab like on my PC earlier, like just opening all the ones that I could, and it did crash Chrome. Like it just like nope, can't handle this. I was like, oh god. Like,
and that's whenever you decide to go touch grass.
Yeah, I'm gonna go play frisbee instead. Why not? Anyway, mixed class results. Austria getting the gold medal, England coming in second, and Northern Ireland taking 3rd place. And USA in 4th. And 5th and 6th, probably 2 teams that if you'd watch Euros, we'd probably learn to expect at that point, because it's a repeat of the positions that they finished in Euros, almost exactly, with the exception of USA getting in the way. So Spain finishing 4th in Euros and finishing 5th here, Czechia finishing 6th. Where they finished 5th in Euros. So actually, those 2 teams are on an absolute roll in terms of like progression and you know getting up there, especially considering like the absolute horror. Imagine drawing USA in your quarterfinal and then finishing 1 place behind them. Like, yeah, that's
that is painful, to be fair.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah. But other than that, like, you know, Sweden finishing 7th, Canada finishing 8th, that rounds out the quarterfinalists, and then the top 16 Croatia at the bottom, going then Ireland, France, Scotland, Wales, Belgium, Australia, and Netherlands. Which I'm surprised Netherlands in mix finished so high, because that Netherlands mixed team are very much I think figuring it out team. Like they are very good, but I think Netherlands as a whole are starting to figure out the play style they want and how to coach them. I think
from the conversations I've heard, obviously I'm not the one having them with them, but from the ones I've heard about, like they seem to be really confident with how things are developing over there. So definitely sounds like a nation on the rise.
Having Catty Weber there to help, you know, an Austria, for those who don't know who she is, Austrian women's multiple-time European champion player, being able to help guide you as a nation and give you some advice and stuff like that, it probably
it could do it worse, couldn't it?
Yeah, you know, nice having your back pocket, you know, to help develop. But yeah, that's mixed. Onto women's cloth. You know what? Actually, getting to a bit of a roll now. You know, starting to get through this relatively. I'm not going to say quickly, but getting through it relatively.
To be fair, the dodgy news took a lot longer than we were expecting.
Yeah,
I mean, it is dodgy news, so you know.
Us chat shit? No.
Emily gets it so quickly, and I love it.
Yeah. I'm glad. That's why you're here, because you get us.
One of us.
I think the first thing that jumps out to me about women's. So again, this is one where the whole like where do people place is kind of annoying, because only the top 4 from every group was going through. It's not like the best place, 5th place, or anything was going through. It was only ever going to be the top 4. So why couldn't they have just done first, like Group A first against Group B 4th, and gone through all of that? No, can't do that. Whatever. Anyway, is that the 6th place were the only teams to finish on 0 points, but in the 2 teams that had 5, everyone came away with at least a point. And I will say that Group D, Belgium had man, they were a good team playing. I just felt bad for them losing. Like, they drew against Scotland, and that game was, they celebrated that like it was, you know, they just got through to the quarterfinals, and that tells you how bloody horrible that group was, because like, Wales, fair play to them finishing top. Like, I think they surprised themselves with that. Like, USA did really well. Italy underperformed, but then they, compared to what they did at Euros, I feel like they had a much higher rotation of their players and getting a lot more people involved in the matches. But then, if you remember in Euros, they drew against Ireland after being like 10. Like, they had to win every set in the second half against Ireland. Remember that?
Yeah.
So, Italy women's in group stages, maybe not the one, but knockouts, they are lethal.
Class.
Absolutely lethal.
Knockout competition, baby.
Yeah. just qualify. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
And boy, did they. And then that left Scotland and Belgium. And that game, honestly, it was... Literally, Scotland had a 1-set lead the entire way through. It was so close, and like you couldn't really, like they were. I think Scotland got a 2 sets up with 4 minutes left to play, 4 minutes 50 left to play, and Belgium won the last 2 to draw the match, and they won the last set quite comfortably. Like it was, they were, you know, holding on to the balls at the end, just saying like, don't throw, time's gonna go, it's fine, kind of thing, just to make sure they did secure the win. But that's another nation that have been working really hard to get better and be more competitive, and I think it's starting to pay off. But they're having to kind of figure it out themselves, and we know how tough Euros is, and Worlds is only going to be harder. So like, you know, well done to Belgium for that, in a really, really tough group. And yeah, that set difference is the only reason why Scotland got through over Belgium, which I think Scotland are going to be a bit disappointed in, to be perfectly honest. I know they're sort of like regrouping and like rebuilding, but to be the lowest qualified women's team that got through to the round of 16, pretty rough.
And then I think after like whichever the regionals was. It WEC? Was that the one they competed at?
Yes.
No, neck.
No,
Or
NEC.
neck, sorry.
Yeah. When their second team did so well, is that then like they brought a lot of those players into that kind of first team. Is it was like for me, I was like, oh man, like you're gonna put those two teams together and they're gonna be absolutely sick. And I don't know if it just wasn't they just didn't gel as much because obviously they'd been two separate teams previously, or again heat, quite cold in Scotland.
To be honest, I think I can't remember which game it was I watched of theirs, but I think they're still trying to figure out how they can mesh the two teams. So I think they know the kind of players that they want to rely on. They don't know how to get the most out of them. As you said, they haven't really had time to gel in that many players into a unit.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be one where the more they're able to train with each other and get more competitive games under their belt, I think you'll start to see a few of them play a lot stronger and a lot better and gel a lot more. So I would agree with you. I think I was very shocked at them to only come away with 1 point from that group. They definitely would say, player for player, they should be doing better than that. But that'll come with time. I think whatever, I don't know if there is a regionals before Euros, but I reckon by the time Euros comes around, they'll be a much stronger unit.
Yeah, in the other groups, I think Pool A, which was what we'd probably call the group of death, with Austria and England in. It's a weird one because 4 teams, qualified automatically.
Yeah.
I think we kind of could have predicted which 4 teams were going to get through. Like we've seen Mexico play before. They're not bad, but they're still very much figuring it out.
Fresh, yeah.
Whereas Hungary and Netherlands are, European quarterfinalists. I think maybe Hungary just missed out, but we know Hungary have made some really big upsets in the last few meets. So the fact that Hungary and Netherlands drew is not really a surprise.
Nope.
I think the England-Austria game kind of surprised me with how one-sided it was. I know a lot of us had heard beforehand going into it that England were looking at it as a see what works.
Trial.
Yeah, kind of thing. Which was interesting considering that it really mattered. Like your set difference really mattered because that's like what part of the draw you got in. And considering, England didn't get through to the finals in the end, is a
spoiler alert. Jeez.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's worth considering. Like, did this pay off for them or not? So,
and then you gotta think like mentally, like, like you don't. It'd be okay losing to Austria if the game is close, but when the scoreline is that big, you just think that if you come up against them again, that's going to be in the back of your mind that was what the score was the first time round, and you're going to be like, God, well, how do I do that next time? I mean, they didn't need to because they didn't play them anyway. But
for our audio listeners, the score was 21-9 to Austria.
Yeah.
It's not like talk about the spoilers, but it's not like they got knocked out in like the quarters or the round of 16 because of it. Like it was still a semi-final. Like it wasn't like the run up to that was any harder than it would have been.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, there was one group that was freaking awful to try and get through.
And the only
which we'll get through but
the only other team they would have swapped with potentially is France, who ended up going up against or they didn't even make it to the semis, but they're on the same side as Austria. So if anything,
they would have
actually probably did technically work in terms of seedings of who you faced. It probably actually did work out in their favor.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's just an interesting
Northern Ireland.
Yeah, it's just an interesting decision to make,
I get it, because if there's how often are you going to get a chance to try out new things.
Oh no, I
against
100%. Yeah, 100% get
we
it.
know
I'm
what
just saying it's
Austria
an
is like.
interesting one.
You know, we've had this conversation with Max before, where Austria's attitude is just go throw everything at every team they come up against, pretty much.
Well, it was also that this time Austria had a really interesting strategy, in that they had two teams of 6.
Yeah,
so they didn't have
talk
rotation.
about trial. Yeah,
so
talk about trial.
They made 2 separate lineups, and they played the first one in the first half, and then at half time they swapped the entire squad, and they put the second team of 6 on.
Yeah.
And they just have the depth to do that, and that's like, you think about that, and you think, if you have that opportunity, because you can make sure your second 6 are warmed up. You're not having to bring them on, and then they're getting targeted immediately because they're trying to get out the fresh players before they can get their eye in. They're just like, oh no, here's our other team that you're gonna play. Oh, but actually, they're exactly the same as the first team, and they're still gonna like mess you up.
Damn, the confidence and belief you have to have in all 12 players to do that, and and internally, in terms of being the 12 players, to have that confidence, like that, it's a ballsy move, and by God, did they get the payoff from it? Like, it was such an interesting way of doing things. Like,
it makes you wonder, will anybody else try and do it? I mean, some countries, they don't have the depth.
They
can't do it.
Does any country have the depth other than Austria?
Well, surely you have to say England of all countries would have the potential to do it.
Yeah.
It's the belief in it. That's the key of what's missing.
Yeah.
Right? Is that, do you, like, because you've seen so many players like come and go over the years. Like, you have to look at every player and go, I believe you have the ability to play against the best in the world and still pull this off. Even like, there's no weak link in the chain at all.
There's no development player. Like, you're not bringing somebody to an international tournament to get them experience because you can't afford it. You've just got to treat them like
that. Yeah.
But I think the other thing that really helps Austria is there is a prototypical Austrian women's dodgeball player. Like, they are all cut from the same cloth, pretty much. They are all incredibly strong throwers, very agile and great catchers. Like, they're quicker around court, so their play style.
Oh, I completely agree. Yeah.
Whereas, like, if you look at England, for example, the amount of different play styles that different players bring, that you then have to amalgamate to try and, as a coach, make sure they can play together. Whereas Austria, you could probably just say A to Z, A to W, you know, whatever the middle of the alphabet is the first half, and then the next half, because that's just how kind of equivalent they are in play style. Whereas I think you can't do that in England.
Completely get your point, but there is more than 12 women that could play the same style of dodgeball in England at a high level. You're actively making the decision to have these different style of players in the squad so that you can adapt by bringing on different players, rather than having players who can adapt to different play styles seamlessly on court, as we talked about earlier on. If England really wanted to go down that route, I'm not saying it's the right idea. I'm just saying they're the only country. Maybe USA and Canada could also potentially do that with the amount of players at trial. I don't know enough, but I could see there being 12 women, that play across the English leagues that could fit in the same play style, and you could do the exact same thing. Now, it's whether you back that play style enough to do that kind of rotation is a very different story. But yeah, they would have the potential. If that's something they looked at and went like, I love how Austria done it.
Agree to disagree on that one. I think the one team that we are forgetting that could do that is Italy. Because they have very similar players and play styles. I think, I probably wouldn't say France because they do have a few differences between some of the players, but definitely like the Italy players, that they can definitely bring a cohort of players all of very similar play types and
it'd be really interesting to see like a team like Italy trying it out, because it'd be different if you're at that level. Like, Austria are comfortable playing as they have many gold medals in their cabinet, to prove that their style of play works. Trying it as a team that finishes in the quarterfinal stages more regularly than not would be very interesting to see if that kind of style would work. again, ballsy move if you try it.
Yeah,
I would not have the guts to go for that.
They didn't
style.
quite do the 2 teams, but they did do the heavy rotations during matches. They were bringing players on and off regularly to try and make sure that they had the breaks during the heat and stuff. But so I would say they were trying it out, but not on Austria's level.
Same as,
Also, I would love to have seen the Austria training sessions, like, because it literally would be their first team versus second team, and the women's side battling off against each other. What? I
know, but that's
team, right, basically.
Yeah.
But that's it, right? Like those training sessions, like, would have been so intense for that reason. It's probably a big reason why it would have worked, is because, if you have that kind of depth to play, high intensity matches, that it really works in your favor, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Just to talk about the rest of the groups, I think we need to do a honorary shout out to the Swiss women, because I think that would have exceeded expectations. Finishing third in their group, beating the likes of Canada. I know France have got their mojo back a bit, because France and Switzerland played in the 9th, 10th playoff. Yeah, 9th, 10th playoff in Euros. And I know France won that one, but France starting to put together that team again. And play a lot better.
Northern Ireland doing well against France, because they were a bit of like their bogey team at Euros.
Yep.
I would have been extremely happy with that.
And it was close. Like, it was 15-13 to Northern Ireland. So, yeah.
God, do you imagine how things would have been so different if that went the other way?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then, again, Canada, I felt like Canada would be higher up that group than 4th.
Yeah, I watched them, and the potential's there. The potential's definitely there. Like, in terms of individual abilities, as throwers, catchers, dodgers, etc. Like, it's there. And they definitely, maybe with a different group, they possibly could have finished higher and had a bit more of a stronger showing of themselves. But
I think their closest game was against France, which was 18-14.
But yeah, France are a strong squad. They're definitely not somebody to turn away from.
I think one thing that I picked up watching Canada and USA in the women's was the timing that they chose to play for time rather than keep the foot down was a lot earlier than I think a lot of us would have accepted. Like, most of the time when we're sort of playing for time, we're talking the last 5-6 minutes of a match where we're trying to, play with that balance of whether it's going to be 3 sets or 2 sets, and we want to have control over it before we go into those final sets. Whereas they were saying like play for time was still like 12-13 minutes on the clock.
That's
and I'm
probably the foam side of them.
Yeah, well, it's like trying to, because I think, there's this perception of cloth where it's like, just play for time on the set, and you'll win the set, and it's like you can't do that. There's a lot of things that can happen in that time to win, and tough shit the set ends and you're 6v6 again, and you've got to do it all over again. Just keep going.
Because she on the other foot, whenever I've played foam, the amount of times I go into cloth mindset of, this has been going on a while, we need to start going aggressive kind of thing, if you're down, or kind of mentality. Like, I do that a bit too often whenever I've played foam previously. So I can 100% see that if they were like foam players at heart coming into cloth, like, I could see how that mindset of, like, usually at this time we've got to start thinking this way and it not paying off. I could 100% be a factor. That's a really good point, Nick.
Yeah, and then Sweden as well, drawing to Czechia. I like, but before we get on to that, I just wanted to give a shout out to the fact that Pool D, everyone drew a match, and USA drawing 2. Wild. What a group that was. But yeah, Pool C, the draw between Sweden and Czechia, I think the Sweden women's team, they had a really good Euros, really, really good Euros. But I think they're also going to be pretty chuffed with finishing second in that group.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and, a team that may have gone under your expectations in other divisions can't have done it this time because they finished top of their group, Australia.
Yeah, exactly.
With
well done,
4 wins.
Australian women.
Cloth women. Yeah, they did really well.
Yeah.
What?
Flipping out shade on the foam
No,
Australian women there.
Because we'll get to this. I think the foam women did pretty damn well in Australia as well. I don't know. I haven't got to that yet. Anyway,
yeah, just random shots, right?
That was not meant to be a shot. That was just to say like we are talking about cloth. So
yeah,
you know, yeah. There we go. Yeah. Who did Ireland beat? Ireland beat Czechia.
Czechia.
Well done.
Yeah, that was mad game.
Yeah,
that was a very mad game. I'll be honest, I definitely wasn't expecting it, but no, the girls showed that they've got potential to do well, and I hope to see them grow and hopefully have a few more women come to the Ireland training sessions, because exciting future ahead if things continue as it has.
Yeah. Very cool. Let's go on to playoffs, unless there's anything else going on.
Not that I can think of.
Groovy.
Just well done, Wales. Absolutely smashing it.
I really want to get to the playoffs because there's
what I was going to say.
Particular I want to talk about.
That Wales game.
That's what it is.
That's not even the one I'm talking about.
Go on then. There's so many to talk about in this one, in my opinion.
No, the big one's got to be France. And
God,
Czechia.
France, Czechia. Yeah. How could I forget about that?
My God, that was so insane.
That is got to be the most controversial decision I have ever seen in dodgeball.
Shall we get into it?
Yeah, I think that's the big talking point. And to be honest, for me, it's the biggest talking point of the entire tournament.
So what happened?
Absolutely insane.
Yeah, what happened to my knowledge? Because I saw the aftermath of it, like the last the 9-second set. But so my understanding was what happened was there was a last 90-second set for one of the teams to win it, and in that scenario, I think France were even or down by 1 or whatever. Either way, there was one player. Okay, either way, catch was made, and double catch. Okay, double catch. Fantastic. Double catch was made. This is like with the last 3-4 seconds left on the clock. Player starts running back in to go back on, but also the entire bench.
The coach. It's the coach.
The entire team flooded the court.
Yeah. What a big shout out in this that I want to give is the referee that was by the France coach box called it immediately. Like you could see watching on the live stream, as soon as that coach ran in front of him, he was running to the referee. Fair play to him, because there are so many referees that would have let that, like, wouldn't have even thought about it. Would have bat an eyelid. That was an incredible call for how that finished. But yeah, so the rule states that it's a forfeit set.
No, so the rules say that what happened was a team yellow card was given, and the outcome from a team yellow card is a forfeited set. So that was the decision made that, given so many people flooded the court, it's therefore a team yellow card and therefore a forfeited set, which resulted in another set being played.
Yes, but France had to play down as well.
France had to play with 5.
Yeah.
France then lose that set, so Czechia win the match.
Yep.
But then that gets contested afterwards.
Yes.
Which I think, so in WDBF rules, I think it's a carryover from EDF, is you can, is it a contest, or what is it when you go to a referee and say, I think your interpretation protest. Your interpretation of the rules is incorrect, and therefore the referee is allowed to speak to another referee to make sure that they've done the right things or look up the rules, etc. So they're allowed time to do it. So this happened, but this happened after the match because had to happen. Like, it happened after that set was complete. It didn't happen before the set started.
So technically, it was that they played the 90-second set, which I think it was Czech won to tie the game, or it was the other way about, and then it went into overtime 3-minute set, which is what Czechia won. Again, France having the player down. Now I don't know what happened that was wrong, because so from my point of view, yeah, Nick, you might know this bit more than me.
So I looked at the rules to try and understand what my understanding was, and this is where I take issue with it. Is so to finish off the story is that gets protested. The referees then say, yeah, shit, we did it wrong, our bad. Let's replay the last 3-minute overtime set. So they then have to play the 3-minute overtime set in the semi-finals, in the quarterfinals slot.
Yeah.
And the winner of that match immediately, or that set immediately, then plays Wales.
Wales are literally watching.
Yeah, which is shit anyway. And I'm also, it's on a different court, and I'm pretty sure the sides of the courts were arbitrary. They didn't say who was on the net side versus the wall side or whatever. I'm pretty sure that was just arbitrary. So Czechia ended up with the wall side, and France ended up with the net side. France then won that, and then ended up going on to lose to Czechia. So to go back to the ruling, to my understanding, all that was confirmed is a team yellow card was given, and the bit that was contested was the output of the team yellow card was they interpreted it as it's a team yellow card. Oh, and obviously there's a yellow card, so someone's got to sit out for 5 minutes. So that was the way that they ruled it. In which case, they can only play with 5 players on court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not what the rule says.
That's not what the rule says.
Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, go on.
So, a team yellow card. When a team receives a yellow card during a set, they will forfeit the current set. That's it.
Oh yeah, so it is the forfeit of the set.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
there's no additional punishment.
No. So when they played that overtime set, they should have played with 6.
But it's within the referee's discretion to say, you ran onto the court, the first player to run on the court gets a yellow card as well.
Yeah.
Because there's no...
We had this conversation in the chat where it could have been a lot more. I actually think the team yellow card was the...
Yeah, because they could have given them a red card.
Yeah. So it was just a case of they said that it was a team yellow card, and that was what was given. I also heard arguments that there may have been another yellow card, but it was given to the coach, not to the player, and therefore they shouldn't have started with all those kind of things. But
yeah, I heard there was a few rumblings.
Either way, the point is that for a team invasion on court, it's up to the referee to interpret how that affects the match, and therefore what the level of the severity is and what card to give, and that is the referee's discretion. It's not this equals this consequence. It was just that what they'd given was a team yellow card, and strictly by the rules, if that's all they'd given, they had interpreted it wrong. But to have the protest after the match, not before the set that you've got the yellow card, is the problem.
Yeah,
I completely agree, and I think it's a very dangerous precedent to set, and I'd be one that if I was WDBF, I'd kill it immediately.
Because we had it in EDF, with EDF at Euros.
Yeah,
is that there was the whole England-Scotland game.
Yes.
And that was put in as a protest, but they said, sorry, we don't change anything about a game that's just already completed. So we've got a precedent
I would agree with that.
To say, I'm sorry, it's really unfortunate this has happened, but we're not going backwards because that just creates more issues. But the fact that the WDBF have now done that differently is now like, well,
what's the standard?
We have to align moving forward, no matter what.
We can then go into Emily's entire rant of, like, if we want dodgeball to get anywhere, we need to, actually align and stop changing things every single time in a tournament. But that's the issue, is that, the EDF is meant to, you're meant to have the WDBF, and the EDF is part of the WDBF.
Yeah.
But somehow we have two different rule sets between Euros and Worlds, and then different rule sets at country level as well. And it's
that's definitely something that I think we need to have. Well, not need to have, but would be a really interesting discussion moving forward. But I just think it's because what happens if this happens in a final?
Yeah.
Like you can't pull everybody after the morning after the gala and go, yeah, we gotta start playing this the 3-minute set to find out who actually wins the tournament.
But by the way, we don't have the hall hired anymore, so it's going to be on the street.
Yeah,
in
the car park.
Tournament.
It's going to be in the reception.
No, it's just going to be like someone waltzes into the gala and says, "Right, guys, sorry, can I just have your attention? Bit of grass outside. We're going to have to replay the final. Let's go."
But yeah, I don't know whether it's written in the rules that they can go back and change it, or how the protest rule actually works. But my understanding, again, could be wrong, and please somebody comment if I am. But the protest should have happened in the moment that yellow card was given. They were told that there was 5 players. Then they bring in the other, like another referee or whoever is meant to verify it, and then it's dealt with in the moment. Yes, there would be a bit of confusion on court for a bit of period of time, but at least the decision is then correct. As Emily, as you said, Emily, it happened after the game.
Yeah.
Referee's decision should have been final. It's so harsh on, to be honest, both teams that they have to replay that, and the whole scenario was just, it left a really sour taste in my mouth. It really did.
Well, it's like, technically, I could go and protest their interpretation of the challenge rule, which states that a team can challenge the incorrect application of a rule twice per match. Wasn't during a match. Can't protest.
Yeah, no, it's exactly what I wanted clarification on.
And it says that they pause play immediately when a challenge has been made. But again, it's already over. There's nothing in the rules that say you're allowed to challenge after a game's happened.
And there's no real precedent in any other sport to overrule. Like the only real thing that I can think of is they only do it in the Olympics. Like for example, in the gymnastics where they had that the individual all-round event where the person came third, there was a challenge, so they then got demoted to 4th. They then presented the medals, and then the challenge was said, "Oh no, it's flipped," so she had to give her medal back. Like, we all agree, as a matter of precedent, what happens on the court is what happens on the court. You can bitch and moan about how awful it was and how bad the refereeing was. Prime example, I feel bad for you, Egypt, with how the refereeing was. I don't blame the referees, it's just what happens.
Yeah.
But you go win the match. Like, you know, we all say that.
Especially when in the rule set, like the challenge is there. Like it'd be like in tennis, you know, that they've got Hawkeye, that you can double check whether the decision's been made. It's up to you about when you use it. You can't then go back and go like, oh, I didn't challenge this one whenever I had a challenge available. Can I go back and recheck that?
Yeah.
And you have to replay the game from there. It does not work. I just think it's such a bad call to make them replay that last set. I get why, and I get the pressure, and I get the France protest, and I think there should have been an apology from, you know, whether you want to do it from the individual referee, that there was potentially a wrong implementation of the rule. Well, I say potentially, it obviously was clarified that it was a wrong implementation of the rule, but you have to accept that you missed out on your chance to challenge it. Like you missed it. If you didn't understand the rule set, that's how you challenge it. It's really unfortunate. And, you know, WDBF learned from that and, you know, clarify it in the rule sets and make sure that every country knows about the challenges. But you cannot go back and replay it.
And I just want to...
It's so unfair.
To bring it back more to the event and dodgeball, I do want to say that from a France perspective, this has to be a big learning situation, because to run on court like that was a bad decision in the fucking first place. Like, we shouldn't be having this protest, we shouldn't be having this argument. Like, I heard a lot of players moaning about this before about France, but like, there is a bit of maturity to be had. We've talked about the French women's team on this podcast before, about how, you know, we think they're fantastic. They're very, very young, and they're really, really good for their age. And
huge future.
Their ceiling is massive. This was a massive step back, in my opinion, because it was just a case of they'd gotten too good too quickly, and maybe were taking a few things like, oh, we can do this, and then being like very happy when they were, but just not quite keeping the competitive level head that they need. You don't win a match until that last whistle's gone. Having said that, I do have lots of positive things to say about the French women's teams later, so we'll get on to that later. moving on to other
Oh
matches.
yeah, I do not want this to come across as me,
Yeah.
you know, disrespect them in any way.
Yeah.
It's like it's one of those things that it's like if it had just happened and it'd just been the team in the card and nothing ever happened to it, it'd be one of those things where you're like, you know, for example, in one of the games I was watching, and there was two. I think it was Netherlands. It was Netherlands versus somebody, and they were 2v1, and one guy went up and got hit on a pre-throw, and then the other guy just ran straight through the neutral zone to the other side of court, and then looked down and was like, shit.
Shit.
Got over the line. And then we lost that set. And it would just be one of those moments. It'd be one of those things where you were like, oh my god, I can't believe we just did that. That was so stupid.
Yeah.
And then that would be it. Like, it would just be, like,
I 100%
it wouldn't
agree.
be anything, but because it ended up as this whole thing, like, that's the issue, is the start wasn't the issue. Like, they could have just gone, oh my god, I can't believe we, like, that was awful. And I feel like it would have been more of a learning point for them if it had stopped there.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
If a slap in the wrist for not knowing about the challenge, a slap in the wrist for referees about, like, not implementing the rule correctly in the first place, like, it could have been handled so much better. It's just the way it happened. Like, it really just it's such a massive impact on a wider scale than, in my opinion, anyway.
They did then get a little bit slapped by Wales. I mean, you know, it's a 3-set win, but Wales had that one relatively comfortably.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say that France were a bit emotionally drained.
Who wouldn't be? Like, but I felt really bad for France going into that game because they had been like, they must have been massively deflated, after losing to Czechia and then having to go into this whole debacle, and then the whole, you know, up and down of like, can we celebrate? Can we are we replaying this? Like what do I have to do to get ready? Like, you're going in against a team that was ready to dominate, really.
And also, like, they're on a high. They finished top of their group. They've just won a revenge game from Euros, because boy, would that have been high on their priority list to beat Hungary.
Oh yeah.
For those that don't know, it was a bit of a spicy game at Euros, which Hungary ended up winning. And there were a lot of arguments between Wales and Hungary all the way through Euros, but it was still, you know, from a dodgeball perspective, it was actually a good game to watch, and Wales very much getting their revenge here. Also, just to talk about the actual replayed 90-second set, or the overtime, I think they played it as a 90-second set. I think they played it as a 90-second set. I recorded it and sent it to you.
I stood there watching it because we were warming up for our game against Hong Kong, so I literally watched it, and I can't for the life of you tell you what happened.
But it was a 90-second set, and it was because France won it rather than Czechia winning it was the reason why the 3-minute set didn't happen.
So the in that 90-second set, Czechia didn't really stand a chance because France won the middle ball. France got a hit early on, so they were up 6-5, and then France were very strategically placing where they were putting the balls, and were actually quite lucky in that they were getting quite a lot of them to roll back. I think Czechia only had 3 attempts with the majority. Of those attempts, they very strictly targeted the ball with singles only because of how, like, I know it was their tactic. I spoke to a few of them afterwards, like, because they are scared of how good French throwing is. I think that's an interesting one. Like, I get it. You're scared of how good the French catching is. You're a player down in 90-second set to get into the quarterfinals. I don't know. But, I
imagine their heads were all over the place going into it.
It was horrible. But yeah, no. So
nobody won from it.
Other games, Italy beating Sweden was a big win for Italy in my opinion, because if I remember correctly, they were on the opposite sides of the table at Euros, and they didn't meet in the. They didn't end up meeting because Italy got through to the bronze medal playoff against Northern Ireland, whereas Sweden lost to England in the quarters.
Yes, because they played the really good, like, 5th, 6th playoff.
Yes. Because Sweden beat the Netherlands in the quarters because that was a dramatic like whistle goes in the middle of someone doing a leap of faith, which meant that Sweden got through. Sweden then lost to England, but Italy got all the way through and lost somewhere else. And yeah, I think I can't remember. Anyway, so really good to see this match being played, and what a result it was for Italy in the end. But yeah,
incredible.
I didn't get to see it. I must confess, but yeah, I will try and find a video of it and watch it back because yeah, wow. I did want to say in terms of like what I considered the absolute channel of death to the final was Northern Ireland, Canada, Netherlands, and USA all fighting it out to get that finals, like that semi-final. I was like, Jesus, like they were playing next to each other. The Northern Ireland Canada final was like on one of the stream courts, and then the Netherlands and USA was on the other stream court. And it was like I was with the Dutch just trying to watch both of them at the same time because I'm like, these games were rough, like for both of them. Like Northern Ireland, that looks like a very comfortable lead, but Canada kept it close in the first half, and they did really put up a fight. The Netherlands USA one, I felt so bad for Netherlands. They were so close to bring. I think they were like four set points down, 2 or 3 sets down with the last bit, and they brought it so close, so close. So you know, big shout out to Netherlands, and they impressive team. They're definitely up there.
Oh, they know how much
USA. Yeah, they do. When you play against USA, who are also learning rapidly in cloth, is a tough one. Quarterfinals. I mean, yeah, we talked about Wales, France, 17-11 to Wales, Austria, Italy. Sorry, I'm tired. It's been a week. 34-2. This is the second time Austria and Italy have played each other in like a knockout thing, and honestly, they seem like best mates. Like every time I see them play each other, they're just like, "All right, we know exactly what the result's gonna be. Let's have a laugh." Like they're such a funny team, the Italians, and I think it's just a vibe whenever they play. So 34-2 is very rough, but I think fun was had, to be perfectly honest. So that's a good one.
You know what's mad?
Yeah.
The closest score for Austria for the entire tournament was the 21-9 group game against England.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's the closest score they got for the whole thing.
Are Austria good?
God, that's... it might be alright. probably a few people we should watch out for in the future, you know?
Yeah.
In the future, look at the past, mate. They've already claimed all the goals.
Sarcasm.
I don't like they've always been good, but they've never dominated a tournament like this before.
It's even madder whenever you go like. No, sorry to bring this back to something we already discussed, but like the 2-team thing, it just makes this mind-boggling.
Yeah,
that's so cool. Like fair play to them. Like you'd have to be just buzzing coming off of that tournament.
Yeah.
Absolutely buzzing.
Greatest dodgeball team of all time.
There's a claim for it.
I mean, I've said it before.
There's a claim for it.
Is. I still think this Austrians women's team, greatest dodgeball team of all time. You can't. If we had the stats, because we don't, we're a fledgling sport. Yeah. They must be the winningest team.
Winningest.
It's a saying. People say it. Winningest. The Americans will back me on this. It's a saying. The winningest, the highest percentage of wins.
Winningest
of like total matches played.
Probably, yeah. That absolutely wouldn't shock me. You know, that's madness though. I do admit there is a part of me that would love to potentially seen an Austrian England final and see how that would have played out as well. But God, fair play to Austria. They just, you know, steamrolled everybody they came up against.
Yeah. I mean, we got to give the flowers to Northern Ireland for getting to the final, like beating England.
Huge.
Yeah, Beth Redmond taking all of the catches.
She had some
Wow.
there. Oh
She
my god.
What a match she had.
Incredible.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I was so happy for them as well. Like, they're such a nice group of people, and I'm so happy to see them like finally, make the final, because the amount of times that they just, something doesn't go their way against teams like Austria and England, like even against like teams like Wales in the past, I think they got beat by once. Like they've always like been that team where it's like the ability's there, you just need to see that unified team come out. And boy, did they show it against England that on the day, and they definitely deserved it. They definitely deserved it.
Oh yeah, like just like going back to Beth, like the absolute cold take of just like the amount of catches she made, and it's just like didn't bother at all. Like I'm just like,
it's
how
never be me.
Like cold aspects. No, can't be you, Emily. We have pictures of you making a catch and going.
That's honestly the most opposite ends of the spectrum you can get.
Literally, like absolutely hilarious. But like as a fan watching it when Beth made those catches and then just like shrugging it off like nothing happened, you're like, oh, like no, that did not just happen.
So good, man.
Oh, it was so good.
I was so happy for them.
Yeah.
Like that entire NI setup, like I have a lot of love for all of them. Like fantastic people. But there's women's team, like as I said in like previous podcasts before, like they're a team that I've always said they can make it, and I really want to see them like take that step up. And by God, they've done it this year, and yeah, over the moon for them. Absolutely over the moon for them.
I think the fact that this is the only final that Northern Ireland made is again another thing I didn't have on my pre.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe for next Worlds we don't do predictions because God knows what's going to happen with people's visas and getting. But we do bingo cards. We get a bingo card.
Actually, that could be
good fun.
We did a bingo card. It just was not quite the bingo card you were envisioning. But my old sheriff's people that don't play anymore, we made a little bingo card.
Sheriff's people.
Yeah, I was 4 short, unfortunately. Which was I did not see a cloth ball deflate, or a player not throwing in 5 seconds, ending a set.
That did happen. That did happen.
Yeah, but I have to see it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it did.
There was
I can't
no
remember
animal
which
on
game.
camera.
It was. I think it was a Welsh game.
The referees have said it's final. You can't go back and change the route.
Yeah. I think it was a Welsh game that it happened in, and it only happened because the team that got called out genuinely didn't hear the play ball call. Yeah.
To be fair, I did hear that was a bit of an issue at times during the tournament, which doesn't surprise me with the noise that's been coming through.
I can't remember if it was Wales or their opposition, but it definitely happened at some point.
Yeah, and then I think my favourite, but also sad for the person, was a failed 6v1 on the last out.
Oh, that would hurt. Oh, that would hurt.
I think niche
if that happened to me, I definitely probably would have just taken myself off and gone, today's not my day.
For the non-British people who are asking what the old non-playing sheriffs are, they're not people with badges. It's a team in England, Nottingham Sheriffs.
They dress up as Robin Hood.
I'm so old now that most of the people I've played with in my career have retired, and they don't play anymore. They just occasionally watch international stuff and then comment on things that are happening there. But I probably have played with more people that have retired than people that are still playing.
Sure, if my injury was any worse, I would have started after you and finished before you.
There's children playing now that weren't alive when I started playing dodgeball.
Don't. The Bees Academy terrifies me for that reason alone.
Anyway, moving on from Emily is old.
Austria win, and they get the treble, which, again, I don't think I saw happening before this. So fair play, especially after how their Euros went. you know, maybe they're that the Michael Jordan meme of I took that personally when they didn't have a great Euros. But yeah, Austria finishing first, Northern Ireland second, England getting third, Wales getting fourth. Like, damn. Yeah, they're going to be absolutely buzzing for that. And they fully deserve that spot as well. Like, they played 100%. So well. And they've come, like, I think they just put together some things and clicked together as a team just that little bit better
Everybody
than they did in Euros.
Up. Like, there was no over-reliance on anybody.
No.
Compared to previous tournaments at the very least. Everybody stepped up and all had their moments, and as you said, they're really unified as a squad, and it was so fun to watch them on court a lot of the time. Like, they also just seemed to really enjoy playing with each other. It was just nice to see, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then
so many great catches.
The 5th to 8th of USA playing Italy and France playing Australia. That happened in the blue box in the two, like, court 4 and 5, so in the really small ones. And that match was played at like 8 o'clock at night. No, 20. So the France game started at 20 to 8. I didn't see the Italy USA game. Because that happened. Not at the blue box. That happened on the other back at the main arena. But I did watch the Australia France game, and very hot sports hall. A lot of very tired people watching. A lot of French people watching. And it was a very, very tight game all the way through. But France very much relied on their catching in that match, and really, really gave Australia a bit of a, so you're going to win this set? No, we're going to catch and win this one kind of vibe, which was very impressive. I did feel a bit bad for Australia, but that's kind of like, you know, the things that we learn in Euros with the volume of teams we have and who we play is we know some teams just have a play style, and that was a learning point for Australia, I guess. But what a game that was. Very, very, very much enjoyed that one.
I can imagine.
Yeah, the Netherlands got their win over Sweden after losing to them in Euros quarterfinals, so they flipped the tables. Which is good because I was talking to some of the Dutch and I was saying like that has to be like one of the, you know, national dodgeball disasters, was like losing that game to Sweden on a like a leap of faith, because it's like so close but so far and just so devastating. But they're like, no, we've set things right now. It's fine. Like we got
controversial opinion. People need to stop doing leap of faith for the last throw of the game when they're the last player in. Just stop it.
Unless there's like 2 seconds left, right, and you back yourself to do it. Like, that's the only situation. If you're like really desperate and nothing's been working for you before that.
Yeah.
But unless it is literally the last throw of the game, there's just no need for it. There's absolutely no need for it.
Yeah, I mean, it very much was a case of a 2v3 scenario, running counter. I need to make this stick, so I'm going to do it as a leap of faith. And the whistle went. It was tough. But I don't know how leap of faith worked in this in Worlds either, because if you threw a ball and the ball bounced and you hit them and it went high up in the air and you landed, player's not out yet, but you've landed, so you are.
No, because you made the hit.
But the hit doesn't count until the ball lands. So, like, what?
Yeah, but then technically you've started the hit, so the player so I think you were allowed to run back to the side.
You've line faulted by that point.
No, but you were allowed.
We had this discussion of the wording of the rule.
We did, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, and you because I thought the same, and then you proved me wrong.
Oh wow, great! So I'm just forgetting everything. Cool.
Basically, they're not out until that ball's dead, essentially.
Yeah.
Cool. Czechia had a bit of a rough one after their dealings with France. They did finish as high as they could. Did they? Yes, they did finish as high as they could. No, they didn't. Sorry, ignore me.
They could have got ninth. Right?
Ignore you. Oh, easy.
Mute.
Server mute.
Yeah, Scotland finishing probably exactly where everyone expected them to finish, considering how their groups went. Again, not great, but I'm sure they'll be working to fix that. Good results for Spain in the end. Just edging over Canada, 17-15 they beat to get through to a match against Hungary. But yeah, good. And Ukraine got a win. So well done to Ukraine. They beat Germany 19-11. So it was good to see them playing and joining in the dodgeball fun. So yeah, I think that wraps up cloth dodgeball at Worlds.
So this turned out to be that 1 hour episode that we were planning on, right?
Yeah, definitely. I loved how after an hour, like, Emily sends a message in the group chat saying, by the way, guys, we need to finish this in 20 minutes if we want to do the other podcast. And I'm like, I'm not going to reply to this, but because we're kind of just we're talking about. I think this has been personal opinion. I think it's been a good chat. So hopefully you've enjoyed it. And if you have enjoyed it, even if you haven't, give a like and subscribe because we just want to see dodgeball grow. It's do it for the sport. Share this with your friends and family, see what they say, and hopefully we can get more people into dodgeball. And in watching Worlds, go share all the links to all the matches you played in, like
all the 600,000 matches that were played.
Yeah, there's like, other than the main dodgeball Austria feed, there's also Doki Doki dodgeball.
Doki Doki dodgeball.
I want to say.
Okay.
They've been putting loads of stuff together. They basically filmed loads and loads of games. Yeah, Doki Doki Dodgeball Club. They filmed loads of games that were on the non-streamed courts that they've been putting up steadily, which England foam are very pleased about because most of our matches were not streamed. And if anybody ever finds the Italy-England mixed foam game, please send it to me because it was the best game I've ever played and it was not documented. I'm really sad about it.
We'll go onto it in the foam episode because I think we've got a few things to say about that game probably.
Yeah.
I think it's the only game Emily wants to talk about. To be honest.
I mean, I will not deny I was several wine spritzers deep at that point.
My guy.
It was amazing because that was happening at the same time as the Northern Ireland getting battered by Austria men's and England having their tough match against USA in the semi-finals. So there was a lot of people watching that England-Italy phone game and then having streams up on their phones while watching the other games because that's what the smart
touch is.
That's actually such a good way to do it right there.
Yeah,
I respect that.
The amount of times people, because of the two venues that were streaming games at venue 1 whilst at venue 2. I think that's how I watched most of the England Cloth games, was through somebody's phone at a different venue. Did I use all of my data? Yes, I did. I ran out.
Was it worth it? Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, give a like and subscribe, share around, give us a follow on Instagram, and we will hopefully, I don't know, we need to talk about it at some point, but we'll be hopefully going to a more regular podcast schedule and talking all things dodgeball. Hopefully more than just British leagues this year, because we'd like to do that. Fingers crossed.
We are going to have a real set episode that'll probably last about 3 hours.
Yeah.
I'd love to get like a referee involved in that from either EDF or WDBF as well. That would be cool if we can organize that. Yeah, but we've got a load of plans of stuff that'll come out, and after, we have a bit more free time after Worlds now that my holidays are finished.
Free time? Who has free time? Yeah.
Free time, sorry.
Yeah. Cool. We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Very well.